Hello and welcome to part 4 of the Entrepreneur's Toolbox by Chris, Ray, and Matthew. Today we focus on the first steps for new hires. That most generally means employee documents. Once the tedious task of screening and interviewing candidates has been completed, the next step is to officially and legally bring the new employee on board or hire them. While this process will differ from company to company, the essence of what must take place is consistent. The goal is to obtain all of the information necessary from the employee that will be used to complete various documents required for the actual hiring process. There are federal, state, and perhaps company regulations that must be met that require some of this information be transferred to the different agencies. Original documents or electronic copies of these documents must be retained by the employer in a safe place. Great care must be exercised when storing employee data. Recent computer hackers have exposed millions of employees to potential misuse or theft of their data. Absolute care must be taken in order to keep this data private. Here is a list of a variety of documents an employee will most likely have to fill out. At the top of the list, we start with, of course, the application. This contains all of the basic legal information a company requires to use in the hiring decision-making process. A signed offer letter explaining the terms of the business relationship. This is beneficial not just for the employer but for the employee as well, as it typically binds as an agreement. Employee information sheet with important family contact information. Employee eligibility worksheet, oftentimes now completed online via various online clearinghouses. The I-9 form to include proof of a valid Social Security card. The tax W-4 form to determine federal and state withholdings. The DOL or Department of Labor Federal Healthcare Exchange registration. Release for background check. List of official references. Signed acknowledgement of receiving company handbook. Self-identification info for gender, military, and disability. And potentially a confidentiality agreement. All of these are just examples of what each employer might want to have their employees fill out. Some are required, but some are more like guidelines that can be followed for best practice. Some optional forms not on the list are benefits, 401k, stock participation and purchase plan, auto reimbursement, cell phone benefits, healthcare savings account, dependent care savings account, vacation time agreement, consent to drug testing, consent to video or audio surveillance, non-compete contract, different from a confidentiality agreement, direct deposit form, employee performance review. Gathering the information just described takes place in various ways depending on the company. When reviewing this list, it is apparent that having secure data storage is a must for the safety of every employee. Document retention during an employee's tenure is a must. Retention of various documents post-employment is determined by both state and federal regulations. Here's an example of the I-9 form spoke of before. Typically, these forms are done in PDF version and can be filled out electronically. This is an example of a non-disclosure agreement, whereas the employee signs that they will not release any confidential information. That could be in the form of emails, that could be data stored on thumb drives, All of this should be spoken about and labeled clearly so that each employee understands what is covered under the confidentiality agreement. This is an example of the W-4 tax form. Most have seen this before and it is pretty standard. Not many changes are made from year to year, but it is important to always keep an updated version and to get these from the correct resources. Here's just another look at page 2 of the W-4 form. Thanks for joining us, and please remember that all sources are cited at the end of all the parts for our Entrepreneur's Toolbox. If you need a closer look at any of the information on any of the videos, please keep in mind you can always just hit the pause button. Thank you.